Okay, so for chapter 6.3 notes, we are going to start, we're still talking about, what do we call these things? Still talking about transformations. Okay, so these are all called transformations, and today we're going to be talking about rotations. Okay, so you definitely need to have your notes paper, and if you don't have it out, get out your patty paper as well. Okay, so we're going to use that today. So for this first one, it says graph triangle RST with vertices. So we're going to label these vertices, and we're going to sketch this. The graph's already on there for you, so it should be fairly easy. So R is 2, 3, so over 2, up 3. Make sure you label it. S is 5, so over 5, up 4. 2, 3, 4. And T is over 4, up 8. 2, 3, 8. Okay, then I want you to connect those, so make a triangle. Now, this one says using the rule for rotation. So rotation means you're going to turn this like a clock. Okay, so a couple things we need to remember about turning things kind of like a clock. First one is that we need to know the difference between counterclockwise and clockwise. Okay, so clockwise is just like a clock. You're going to be turning just like a clock in this direction. Okay, so keep turning like a clock. Counterclockwise means we turn the opposite direction. Okay, so it's turning the opposite direction. Okay, so it's kind of like to the left. Clockwise is moving to the right, counterclockwise is moving to the left. So for this one, it says using the rule for rotation of 90 degrees. Okay, so that's the other thing we need to make sure that we understand. Okay, so clockwise is moving to the right. I'm going to label that. And counterclockwise means it's moving to the left. Okay, you're flipping to the left or turning to the left. You also need to know let's just draw a little graph like this. Okay, so make just a little XY grid. 90 degrees means you're going to move from here to here. Okay, so 90 degrees is what I would call a quarter turn. Okay, so flip it just a quarter. So 90 degrees is 1/4 turn. 180 degrees equals a half turn. Okay, you're going to turn it, basically flip it around. And 270 degrees is a 3/4 turn. Okay, so those are going to be important. So we're either going to turn things 90 degrees, 180 degrees, or 270 degrees. So for this one, it says, using the rule for a rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, we want to graph and then write the new coordinates. So we're going to line this up. Okay, you're going to take your patty paper, and I want you to line it up exactly so we're going to put the edges, okay, put the edges on the X and Y axis. So try to put them right on the X and Y axis, okay? Then try to hold it on there really well. And then we're going to graph these. Okay, so you're going to trace them. So that's where your R is. That's where your S is. And that's where your T is. Okay, so I want you to trace those. So trace those 3 points. R, S, and T. Then we're going to take this, and I want you to think of 0, 0, 0, 0 is actually called the origin. Okay, it's a special point on your graph called the origin. And you're always rotating around the origin. Okay, so that's like your anchor point. So if this is your anchor point, and we're going to rotate counterclockwise, so that means to the left, 90 degrees. So that's 1/4 turn. So I'm going to flip this, try to hold it on there really well, flip 1/4. Okay, make sure it stays lined up. Then I'm going to redraw these. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit difficult, okay, because you basically kind of have to pick up like one corner at a time. Okay, so try to get it on there really, really nice. And then we're gonna label one corner at a time. So I would always start with the corner that's closest to your, closest to 0, 0. So that first corner is gonna be right here. Now, I would look at it under your patty paper before you actually draw it on your graph. So you can kind of like see where it is in your mind. So this one's gonna be at -3 up 2. So -3 up 2. I'm gonna pick that up, put an R, and that's my R prime, so R1. Then let's look at the next one. S, you kind of look underneath your patty paper because you can see through it. This is gonna be -4 up 5. So -4 up 5 is where S prime is. And then finally look where T is, and it should line up perfect on your grids. Okay, T is gonna be at -8 up 4. So -8 up 4. Okay, and now it does say write the new coordinates, so you can connect these. That's my new triangle. And it's been rotated, okay, or turned. And I want you to also write the coordinates. So R prime, S prime, and T prime. So R prime we already said was at -3 up 2. S prime should be at -4 up 5. And T prime is -8 up 4. Okay, so we're just graphing these or transferring them on the patty paper. Okay, and I would try to use the patty paper, like try to use an edge or something like that. It makes it a little bit easier instead of using like right in the middle. Okay, next one for number 2. It says a quadrilateral. Okay, quadrilateral, that just means 4 edges. Okay, and it says on the graph, draw the image of quadrilateral ABCD after a counterclockwise rotation of 180 degrees about the origin. So that means around 0, 0. Label ABCD prime and label each point. Okay, so again, we're gonna pick the corner of our patty paper, and it doesn't really matter which side you're on. Okay, let's line it up, x-axis and y-axis. This one's kind of small, but we can do this, okay? That's D. Here is A, B, and C. And then just trace over this, make your edges. Okay, and this one we said counterclockwise 180. So that means 2 quarter turns, so 1 full half turn. So you're gonna move 1 quarter, 2 quarters. Okay, so 1 quarter and 2 quarters. Then line it up on your axis, so put the corner at 0, 0, that's called the origin. And then we're gonna figure out where our lines, or where our edges, our vertices go. So if you look at the first one, you kind of push it down, you can see a little bit better. Oops, sorry. So push this down, that's gonna be at -4, -4? Nope, sorry, -3, -1. So D is -3, -1, that's D prime. Put it down again, let's get to the next one. The next one, C, is gonna be at right here, -8, -1. So -8, -1, and that's C prime. I would try to use different colors. You don't have to, but it seems to make sense to me. This one, A prime. A is going to be at, let's see, what, -5. And over, excuse me, down -6. So -5, -6. And that was A prime. And then B prime, that's the last one. Make sure you try to keep this nice and lined up. And it's going to move a little bit, but you just have to always put it back at 0, 0. Okay. And B prime is going to be right here, so -10. And way out here, -6. So -10, -6. Okay, and then you can connect these, connect to the edges, and label them. So A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. Okay, and again, we want to label these points. So A was at -5, left 5, down 6. So -5, -6. B prime is way over here, left 10, down 6. So -10, -6. C prime is -8, -1. And D prime is -3, -1. Okay, so we labeled the image and labeled each point. Okay, now let's go ahead and flip this over. Okay, let's look at the back. For number 3, it says point A is rotated 270 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. What is the coordinates of A prime? Okay, so you probably are going to want a little graph for this. You don't have to, but if you have your little graphs, I would use one of those. Okay, it's probably going to be the easiest way to do this. So if you have one, I would get one. If not, it's not a huge deal. You can do this without it. Okay, actually, I'm going to show you without it, just in case. Okay, just in case you don't have them. So let's just draw a little XY coordinate grid. And if A is over 3, up 6. So it's going to be like way over here. Okay, that's A. If I said I wanted to rotate that, okay, counterclockwise. So I'm just going to use my patty paper. Okay, I'm not actually going to draw on it, but I'm going to show you. Let's think about this, okay? Well, let's go ahead and just put A right here. Okay. If I say counterclockwise, so that's to the left, 3 rotations. 1, 2, 3. Right there. We're going to use some process of elimination here. Okay. You know it's going to be in this area. Okay. And let's figure out which of these could possibly be in that area. Is -6, 3 in this target area? No. -6, up 3, definitely not in there. How about 3, 6? Over 3, up 6. Well, that's what we started with. No. How about 6, -3? Over 6, down 3. That's a possibility, but check the other ones just in case. And here, -3, -6, definitely not a possibility, so it has to be that one. So you don't have to have perfect answers all the time. You can use what's called process of elimination. Okay, that's totally fine. Okay, this one is, the rest of these are going to be a little bit of kind of like review. Okay, so it says draw the final image, and this one is probably the most difficult. Draw the final image created by rotating ABCD counterclockwise around the origin, so that's going to be 1 flip around 0, 0, and then reflecting. Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated than what we've been dealing with. Okay, so a little bit more complicated, but it's not something that we can't handle. Okay, so I'm actually going to do this in 2 parts. The first part is I'm going to rotate counterclockwise. Okay, so first part I'm going to rotate. So here I'm going to use my patty paper, and I'm out of edges, so I'm just going to use it just like this, okay? But I'm going to use this, I'm going to draw my XY axis, just draw it as like a plus right there, okay? Then I'm going to label this, so that's A, that was D, that one's C, that one's B. Okay, so let's draw our, I don't know, this is kind of like a funky shape. Okay, make sure you have that little plus right there though. Okay, because what it says is 90 degrees counterclockwise. So what you can do is you can use your finger, or I would use your pencil right here, and hold it down right at 0, 0. Let me see if I can show you that better. Hold it down right at 0, 0. Then we're going to rotate this. So underneath this, I'm going to pick up just the patty paper, and I'm going to rotate. Okay, Remember, I want that little plus. Do you see how it's kind of turning? We don't want that, okay? We want to keep it centered. If I rotate 1 turn, so quarter turn, and we said counterclockwise, so that means to the left. So I'm going to rotate it 1 turn, and you know it's lined up once I have the plus, okay, once that is lined up in the middle. Okay, this wouldn't be quite lined up because it's a little bit off to the side. That one's off to the side, so we want 1 turn where it lines up, just like that. Okay, so first I'm going to draw these. Okay, so we're going to take 2 parts. I'm going to do the first one, just the counterclockwise, and then I'm going to reflect it. Okay, so this one's going to be counterclockwise. So first, let's pick up these and let's figure these ones out. Okay, so B is going to be at -3, up 1. So you kind of have to like use a couple different fingers here. So I'm going to hold this right here. Okay, let's take some skill. So remember, -3, up 1. And I'm going to put a dot. Kind of going to try to do left-handed. -3, up 1. And we said that that was B prime. So just kind of like hold it. Okay, like just take it off to the side just a little bit, but keep it in the right spot. So B1. Okay, well actually, no, just B. Just write B. Sorry, I changed my mind. Then I'm going to bring this back. Okay, and I'm going to label the next one. So line it up at your origin. Origin is 0, 0. And let's figure out where my next point is. My next point would be A. And if you figure out where that is, that's at -2, down 1, 2, 3, 4. So -2, -4 is where A is going to go. -2, -4 for A, my new A location. Again, put this back, line it up. You kind of have to keep track of where it was. C is going to be right here, so -2, -2. I'm sorry. Wait, was that right? No, I'm sorry. -1, -2. -1, -2. That's where C is going to be. And then again, put it back, line it up. And now D is going to be over here, so that's over 2, down 1, 2, 3. So 2, -3. Over 2, down 3. That's D. Okay. Now let's connect these again. So this one is a little difficult, but it's something that you could definitely handle. Okay. So that's your rotation. So we rotated it. Now it says I want to reflect it. Okay, so reflect it across the x-axis, and the x-axis is the side to side. So this is going to flip from going, let me show you. So first it started here, then it rotated 90 degrees, so it rotated to here. Now I'm going to reflect it. So I'm literally going to pick it up and I'm going to flip it over to be like this. Okay, so we're going to draw this new one. Now, it might be easier for you to use the patty paper, but you don't have to, okay? I'm going to show you. I would prefer to do it this way. I'm just going to look at it, okay, and I'm going to use a different color here. We're going to figure out, see if it goes across the x-axis. Okay, it's still going to be left 1. This was down 2, so the new location is going to be left 1, up 2. And this is where I'm going to write C prime, okay, because this is what my actual answer is. This was kind of like my intermediate answer, like my middle answer, so it's not an actual answer. Then I'm going to do the same thing for B, okay? B was left 3, up 1. So if you flip it, if we're flipping it across, it's going to be left 3, down 1. That's your B prime. A was left 2, down 4. So if I flip it over this way, it's going to be left 2, up 4. That's your A prime. And then finally for D, if I'm flipping it over this way, it was 1, 2, over 2, down 3. So that means it's going to be over 2, up 3. Then we want to draw this. So C gets connected to B and D. And then A and B are connected. And A and D are connected. So it's going to look just like that. So this is the most difficult that it's going to get when you're doing more than just one thing. And that's what it should look like. So just drawing it. So I'm going to be happy if you can draw it. I'm not even going to make you label this one. Next one, for number 5. We just want to figure out, how did they do this? Okay? Did they translate it? So they literally like picked it up and slid it like a slide. Did they reflect it so it flipped over? Okay, did it flip over the x-axis? Did it flip over the x-axis is up and down. The y-axis would be side to side. Or was it rotated, where you took the whole shape and like flipped it around? Okay, did a turn with it. So this one, this is not in your original shape. So it's definitely not a translation. Okay, translation is when you slide something. So this is not a translation. Okay. One way that you could do this is you could use your patty paper and you could look at the original one. Okay. And if I drew just the original shape, and it doesn't have to be like perfect. Okay, if we do the original shape, how can I make that shape look like this shape? Can I simply flip it over? Oops, sorry. First I'm going to draw in the XY axis too. So this is your XY axis up here. Probably should have drawn that a little farther. So can I simply flip it over? No. But it's looking a little bit closer. So it was flipped over the y-axis. Then what if you flip it up and over the x-axis? So flipping is called what? Called reflected. Okay, so reflect over. First we flipped it side to side, so that's reflect over the y-axis, and reflect over the x-axis. Okay, so we're figuring out, how did I get to that shape? How did that shape get how it is? Okay, and then let's look at this one too. Make sure that you're always starting with the first one, so you're not using the ones with the little primes, you're using the one that doesn't have any notations on it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of label where my XY axis is, so I have a kind of anchor point. And then we're going to draw this. Draw my edges, just trace it real easily. Then, can this one be made by just sliding? Not really. Can't really just slide that. Okay. Can it be made by flipping? Reflecting? Doesn't really look at it like it. Okay, it doesn't look like you can do any flipping there. So the only other option is rotating. Okay, so let's figure out how far we would have to rotate this. Now I'm going to move to the left. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to move to the left. And I'm going to move, if I move one click. Oops, sorry, I didn't do a good job there. So leave it, make sure that your point is like right there on 0, 0. Okay, so on 0, 0, if I rotate this one turn, it looks like it matches. So that would be a rotation of, if I move to the left one turn, that's rotation. One turn is 90 degrees, and if I'm going to the left, it's counter clockwise. Counter means opposite, or opposite of how a clock moves. And a clock, not the digital kind, but the other kind, goes in a circle, so it's going to the right. Okay. And then the last one, number 6, now we're just going to go back to rotating. Okay, so if you look at, it says quadrilateral PQRS is plotted on the grid. On the graph, draw the image after a 90-degree clockwise rotation. Label all the parts. So we're going to take your patty paper. Okay, make sure that it's going to cover that. And I'm going to put the little plus for the XY. Okay, so I definitely want to label that because that's how I'm going to rotate. And then label these. So draw the edges or the vertices. So S, P, that's Q, and this is R. Connect the dots to make your quadrilateral. Quadrilateral means 4 edges. And then we're going to clockwise rotate. So that means I'm going to move to the right. So put your pencil or your finger or something right at that origin. That's called 0, 0. And I'm going to move it 90 degrees. So 90 degrees is 1 turn to the right. So make this lined up again. Okay, you got your 0, 0 lined up. And that one looks perfect. Now we're going to actually pick up the edges and move them. So the first one is over 2, down 1. So S is going to be at over 2, down 1. So over 2, down 1. That's S prime. Make sure my pen dries so it doesn't get all smeary again. Then the next one is P. So over 3, down 2. Over 3, down 2. 3, down 2. And that was P prime. P1. Excuse me. Next one, so make sure you're still holding it here. Then Q, that point is over 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. So over 3, down 4 is Q. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Q1. Then the last one is R, and R is over 0, down 2. So over 0, down 2 is your R prime. Then connect them. It's kind of like a diamond-y looking shape. And I want you to label them. Okay, so I'd like you to write out all the points. So P prime, Q prime, R, and S prime. So label them. P is over 1, 2, 3, down 2. So 3, negative 2. Q is over 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3, negative 4. R is over 0, down 2. So 0, negative 2. And S will be over 2, down 1. So 2, negative 1. Okay? Make sure that you write this down. Your homework, and you're going to have time to do it in class for a little bit, is on page 479. You're doing numbers 1 through 5 and 11 through 16. Numbers 1 through 5 and 11 through 16. This will be collected tomorrow. Okay, so please make sure that you're getting it done. It will be collected tomorrow, and it, of course, just like always, it's going to be graded.